Hi, good afternoon. I'm Aude Simongiovanni, working for Metex Animal Nutrition. In fact, it's not really a question. I wanted to make a comment, and also including all the presentations from this morning. First, thank you to all the speakers because it was very interesting and very motivating, I would say. So what I wanted to say is that I just observed that we are all very motivated to provide more sustainable food and feed. But I think we have to be careful, first, not to fight between us, because as it was mentioned several times, there is not one solution. And also, we need to adapt locally, as you just mentioned, and as it was also said this morning, we have to adapt locally depending on the conditions, the context, etc. So it's very important not to fight between us, and it's also important, I think, to allow, if I can say, all the production system to coexist together and to work all together. So finding new way of producing food is very nice, but this will not replace the classical animal production, I think. On the animal production side, we know we have a room to improve, and we know also that some solutions are already known. So there is a lot of research. We have a lot of long-term solutions ongoing, but we have also short-term. And the short-term ones, we know they exist, we know they are efficient, but then we have, I think, to work more deeply on how to implement them. Because today, some solutions exist, but they are not yet implemented. And one point that was mentioned this morning, I don't remember which speaker, but it was this concept of almost, how to say, almost competitive, a solution that is almost competitive. Almost competitive, it means it's not competitive. But almost, it means as well that the investment to implement this solution is low. So we know that currently, and it was also mentioned this morning, the feed industry in Europe has some difficulties, and I think they have difficulties to invest. The cost of energy, etc., the context of the last 2 years is difficult, so the investment room is very low. So I think we need some support, maybe from governments or politics, but we need some support also to push the implementation of the known solution that exists today. And because the feed industry or the farmers, they are not really able in Europe, I talk about Europe, to invest at that time, and at the end they need to have a payback to implement solutions. So thank you for listening me, and I don't know if you want to react, but I just wanted to say that I am very, I really thank all the speakers because it was a very interesting talk until now. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I just look around if there is a questions. If not, then I can still comment, of course. But if not, there's a question down by Anne. And then here, okay. Maybe I take the 2 questions and then I ask.
Thank you, Alexandre. I think it's a question that has to do with the impact of livestock on climate. So in all last 3 presentations, including the one about Australia, so I'm very sensitive to the fact that we need to measure the impact and not use a metric just because it's a standard. But I'm afraid if we say, look, the impact has not increased in Australia, in Austria, in such country, because we haven't increased our herd, so we can continue as business as usual, then we are forgetting about the other part of the world where the stock needs to increase. And I think there's a problem of equity there, and I'd like you to comment on that. What about the equity between countries that would like to keep their herd constant and countries that need to increase their herd to achieve better food security and nutrition?
Maybe first the reaction and then the last question.
Anne, I would like to quote you from this morning. and say that we have to overcome single metric situations, right? The singular focus on climate impact leads us to create all kinds of policies that ignore so many other very important aspects that we are not, that we are at risk of destroying more by gaining on just one indicator. Now, as part of the drafting this animal frontier thing, we had been debating this back and forth so many times, and essentially our article came out to the conclusion we actually do not understand well enough yet. We can't measure it well enough yet what ruminants and monogastrics do in this very complex system of both climate change and biodiversity and water and so on. So we need to measure climate impact much better than we currently do. We need to measure carbon sequestration much better than we do. We need to measure water retention better, fire prevention better. Once we've measured all of this better, only then we will be really able to understand what the role what the environmental role of a particular production system is. And then, I would agree with you, then let's talk about equity. Then let's indeed say, okay, if after all of this we have now fully understood, and if that means that in the rich world we have to reduce our livestock numbers so that the poor part of the world can increase, then let's do that. But I am firmly convinced we're not at that place yet. We don't understand the impacts well enough yet to be able to make that choice.
I was sure that you would respond also.
So very briefly, this is really a very important question that we from our intensive livestock production should not be arrogant and say, you, all of the world, you must follow the same as we do. This is really important, and I'm sure that in most part of the world there is a lot of room for improvement of efficiency in terms of circularity, the use of the biomass, efficient use of the biomass, preservation. Yeah? So they have enough room. They have enough room even to increase the numbers of animals, because efficiency and the methods to make use of it, preservation techniques, techniques to improve the health of the animals and so on. There's a lot of space to improve, and they can increase the amount of animals without harming the environment. So the only restriction is, as long as you stay within the circularity, we have probably no problem with the climate. And the target would be within the framework of circularity to make 100% use of that what we could do.
Still the last short question, as always, and short answers. We will try.
We give it a chance. Søren Krogh Jensen, Aarhus University in Denmark. What I got out of it was that it's all about circularity, it's all about to look at the whole system. What then about that pure vegan consumer, which at the same time wants to only eat organic food? Well, that will be a problem in the way you provide it.
Oh, I'm not sure if there was a short answer to this.
No, it's a short answer. What the consumer is doing, it is his decision. He can do, and he can select it what he wants to have and what he believes that it's healthy for him, and it does not affect the efficiency or the sustainability of agricultural production. Of course, if we go into circularity, agriculture producing just on base of circularity will provide less animal-derived food. Yeah? But it has nothing to do with the consumption habit, and what the consumer likes to do. So we should not mix up this question. So if a vegan wants to eat vegan protein and vegan material and everything from organic production, so he can do. Yeah? We should not mix up with agriculture. And with a goal to produce, to feed, to nourish men with a minimum impact on environment and climate. This is another field.
For equity also answer.
Yeah, I like to use this answer to the question to provide a little different perspective. Circularity will mean different things in many different circumstances. So the example that I used actually 2 days ago at the United Nations was circularity could mean in Nairobi that we're collecting from the city human excrements, then feed that to black soldier flies, feed the black soldier flies to chicken, and then the people eat the chicken again. It's a perfectly circular system. So circularity means many different things, and we should also understand that circularity is not necessarily a purely local phenomenon. It may be possible or necessary that we grow certain things in one region where they easily grow and transport the materials to some other place, and in this way close the circular loop. So circularity is again a very complex concept that means a lot of different things under a lot of certain different circumstances. I think we need to appreciate that the system is very complex, that there is no simple answers, and it has to be, and there I completely also agree with Wilhelm, it has to be ultimately respecting consumer choices. If a consumer wants organic food, give him organic food. You know, let him pay whatever it costs. But that does not mean it makes that becomes a systematic solution, and vice versa.
Thank you very much again for the speakers.